Be ready. 10 seconds to go. Start. It is particularly appropriate that in this year of Mahatma Gandhi's centenary, the Patel Memorial Lectures should be devoted to the study of some aspect of his life and thought. This would have gladdened the heart of Sardar Patel, who worked valiantly with him and after him in the service of the country and left the impress of his vigorous personality on many aspects of our national life. Gandhi has made a unique impact on the mind and heart of his age, although many of the values which he deeply cherished were at a great discount in the world. This is a good opportunity for us to assess some of the results of this impact as objectively as possible and to examine his relevance to the modern world. There are many persons, not at all by any means his detractors, who sincerely think that the Gandhi era is over. They recognize that he provided brilliant leadership in the fight for freedom as well as in many other fields, where results are neither easily perceptible nor quick to mature, but having done that, his role has been completed, and many of his teachings are not really valid now, either for India or the world. We would do well to recognize this new trend, particularly in the younger generation, which did not have the stirring experience of actually seeing him and coming under the spell of his personality. Is this a really correct and complete assessment? I hope to examine some facets of this criticism in the course of these lectures. While I appreciate the relevance of this theme to the occasion, I do not quite know why I have been chosen for the honor. Some of his friends and co workers are luckily still alive, a few of them present in this hall who had known him longer and more intimately, whereas I came into contact with him mostly in the last decade of his life. They could have done fuller justice to the theme and spoken with great authority. Also, only last December, one of his close co workers and a careful student of his thought had spoken on a somewhat similar theme. This is indeed good, but you will agree that this does rather cure my pitch. However, I am grateful for this invitation because it has led me to a restudy of Gandhi's writings again, and this has been an enriching spiritual experience. During the last 50 years, so much has been spoken and written about him, and he has himself written so much about his ideas, his values, and the course of his spiritual growth that it is difficult to find something original to say about him. Original ways of doing so, yes, original interpretation of his ideas, possibly, but originality of content, hardly, unless, of course, like Arthur, who has the dubious gift of being able to see darkness at noon. One set out to prove that India would have been a better and healthier country if Gandhi had not existed. However, having been offered the challenge of this responsibility and having accepted it in a moment of mental lucidity, I shall endeavor to do my best. As you know, my first lecture is entitled The Lovable Personality of Gandhi. The second, Gandhi's Concept of Religion. And the third, Gandhi's Concept of Culture. I consider the last two to be particularly significant facets of this thought both for India and the rest of the world. I have not considered it necessary to detail his political and economic ideas because they have already received adequate attention and their roots really lie in his religious and cultural ideas. The best commentary on Gandhi's provided by Gandhiji himself, and therefore I have preferred to rely mainly on his writings and speeches and made them the starting point of my thinking. Particularly his deeply moving autobiography, My Experiments with Truth, which provides an authentic account of his checkered unfolding, told with a courage, simplicity, and frankness rare in such documents of personal history. Many years ago, I had read the book and it gave me a glimpse of his mind, simple and integrate, modern and yet steeped in tradition. Some months ago, when I was in Canada, I happened to read it again and it opened new vistas which I had missed at the first reading. Perhaps this is true to all great books. They do not yield their full treasures without the labor of thought and some assimilated experience of life. In the very introduction to the book, he has set the mood needed for its understanding. It is not my purpose to attempt a real autobiography. I simply want to tell the story of my numerous experiments with truth, and as my life consisted of nothing but these experiments, it is true that the story will take the shape of an autobiography. I believe, or at any rate, flatter myself with the belief that a connected account of all these experiments will not be without benefit to the reader living in any part of the world. Stop